This is like The Giver meets La La Land meets Ma Rainey's Black Bottom meets Whiplash meets Inside Out. Hey everybody, today we're going to be talking about Pixar's new movie, Soul. So yes, stating the obvious, I didn't do Wonder Woman for a few different reasons. I'll explain those when I do the review. I promise I will get to Wonder Woman 1984. Really quick before we start the review, I just want to mention that if you like my movie reviews, if you like my movie thoughts, I'm going to be doing a lot more little thoughts as I come across them, little other things, additions to some of the reviews when I come up with more ideas or more thoughts on them on my Instagram, which is movie_in_the_middle. I also have a bunch of other thoughts and things coming out on my Facebook page, Movie in the Middle. So check those out. They're going to be really fun. I'm actually going to be doing an addition to all of the Disney announcements because there were a lot more I realized I didn't even see and a lot more that have come out. So I'm going to be putting up one of those actually probably today, addressing a lot more of those panels as well. So if you like all that, go and please follow movie_in_the_middle on Instagram and Movie in the Middle on Facebook. Soul is about a guy named Joe who eats, sleeps, and breathes jazz music and just wants to be in a huge jazz band. He just teaches middle school music right now and finally gets the gig of a lifetime and then dies and becomes a soul. In order to get back to his gig, he has to figure out how to get back into his body, which is now in a coma. And in order to do that, he has to mentor a unborn soul named 22 so that she gets her spark and gets to her body, and there's also a cat. This may be Pixar's most complex movie yet. No, it is. It is Pixar's most complex movie, and that's saying a lot, but this concept is amazing. Instead of going with just my normal highs and lows, I'm actually going to break it up into 3 sections and talk about the highs and lows within each of them. The first section is the animation, obviously, just the actual technical quality of it. The photorealism, which what they were going for in the backgrounds of everything, is incredible. Like, it's insane. I paused it and tried to picture if I could put like a real person in front of like the chalkboard that was behind him, and it would look like a real movie. And the soul realm that he goes into is not photorealistic, but the animation is incredible. Like, the way that all these creatures, and I don't want to say what they are, but all these things that are there, the way that they look, it's just so unique and interesting. It's like nothing I had seen before. To be honest, I almost kind of felt like I was tripping for like a few minutes of it, just because the animation was so, I don't want to say psychedelic, but definitely a lot of different mediums at once. Now, in terms of the realisticness of the background, I loved it, but I just was wondering, like, at what cost do we make it so photorealistic? And this kind of gets into a whole other thing about animation. I want to talk about it at some point in another video. But the main reason for animation is to have something other than the real world. And obviously we want to have it look realistic, but does it defeat the purpose of animation to have it look photorealistic? The other side of that too is, if you have such photorealistic backgrounds, does it make the characters stick out like they're not supposed to be there if they are more animated cartoonish? Because we've seen what realistic humans look like when they're animated in the Polar Express, and it's creepy as hell. So we want to keep them cartoon, but then does it seem like this weird separation? In talking about the human animation, I liked it, but I didn't think that it was up to the level that Pixar is normally at. Their movement seemed a little weird. My brother pointed out that it doesn't seem like they're actually saying what they're saying, like their mouth doesn't exactly move as fast. So I didn't think, it felt like they were so focused on making all the other details that they didn't really focus as much on the people, which is what you are supposed to focus on, because that's what people are going to look at, is the people. They also just kind of felt like DreamWorks or Illumination characters to me, and I'm not a huge fan of those types of characters in those animated movies because they just look kind of goofy. But it's Pixar, I'll give them a pass. My second section is about structure, because I am all about structure. I have realized that in doing reviews for things like The Lighthouse, and I'm thinking of Ending Things, and soon to be another movie that I'll bring up in a little bit. I like structure. I really thrive on having a good structured movie. And if it's one that's more metaphoric or symbolic, or you just have to feel it, while I really appreciate them, and a lot of them I do like, sometimes I can't just personally wrap my head around that, which is weird because I love ideas that, it's just this movie makes you feel something. But I have to have some sort of concreteness. And this movie gives me both. While it's not inconsistent, like it makes sense by the end, it's so unpredictable. The way it unfolds is so unconventional because you have the hero's journey is basically they start out in their known world. Then they go to the unknown world, wherever that may be, the adventure takes them on. Then they come back to their known world, having changed. This kind of throws that out the window. It does this 180 like 30 minutes in where you're like, I didn't know that we were going to be doing this or going that way with it. And you think it's going to be like one thing for the whole movie, and it turns out that it actually is kind of a little bit everywhere, but it makes sense. That's the thing. It actually makes sense. I wasn't personally a huge fan of what the 180 specifically was, like where they went with it, but I can't say that it was for no good reason. It is part of the story. Other things in terms of the structure, the editing was some of the best editing I've seen in a Pixar movie because it was so quick, and it was just for the meaning of something or for comedic relief of something, it got a point across in like 2 seconds. It was so good. Now, I said it was quick. This movie is something that you need to rewatch like once or twice or 100 times. And sometimes you need to even pause it. I had to pause it multiple times and ask some friends and even talk to Jared Samarco. We had a conversation afterwards just trying to figure it all out because the rules of this world are so complex, but they just say it really, really fast. That in and of itself is not a negative. I would say a low is more of that there are some things they don't quite explain enough. The rules are very confusing and they don't really explain them well enough. It is still a really well thought out world, but they just you have to really be on the ball listening to it. This is not so much a kids movie that adults can also watch. This is more so an adult movie that kids will enjoy for the look of it and some of the jokes. But as they get older, they're going to appreciate this one a lot more. My third and final section is on theme. I have never spent so much time thinking about theme in a movie. Never. And that's because they don't tell you what the theme is. Now, no movie really starts out saying, this is our theme, but you can kind of like get it. You can be like, oh, the theme is about growing or whatever it might be. This movie doesn't tell you what the theme is really going to be about. So you kind of have to figure it out as you go. And you don't really know the theme until the end. Like the very end. It alludes to it, but it doesn't really give it to you. And that blew my mind that this character who characters usually have wants and needs. Wants are the physical goals. This one's getting to his gig. Needs are the internal thing that they need to grow. We have the want, but we discover the need as it goes along. It is so unconventional, and yet it works. You just get to the end, and it really closes on something. Obviously, I'm not going to say what it is, but something that every artist wants to put out there. Every artist wants to embrace in their work and be like, this is my message. And it's such a simple message that if you don't ground it in something, it's so flowery that it's boring. Or it's like, yeah, you need to do something more with that. But Pixar was able to take something like this, ground it in an hour-and-a-half movie, and end on that exact message without you even knowing that's where it was going. Pixar, time and again, they're able to indulge in the experiences of life through senses, sensations, emotions, feelings, thoughts, all of it. They're able to do that consistently just by grounding it in something else. And it's different every time, but you're always able to get back to this same idea of just life. That's The theme also resonates with me as a perfectionist. Obviously, I can't tell you why because I'd be ruining the theme, but if you've seen the movie, I think you'll know what I'm talking about when I say it resonates with me as a perfectionist because of things like obsession. Well, this movie is going to keep me thinking for a while. I'm going to have to rewatch this over and over. Some of my friends have already talked about, is this better than Inside Out? Because it feels very Inside Out. Inside Out's much more straightforward, but this one does a lot of original stuff. And even if I wasn't a fan of every single element of it or every single, moment, I can't say that this movie did not blow me away because of how unexpectedly complex it was, how insanely deep it is in an hour and a half. I'm in awe about how shocked I am about this movie. Guys, I'm going to give this a 4 out of 4 for the originality alone. And so this becomes my second top shelf movie. Actually, my second in a row. Guys, Soul is on Disney Plus. If you don't have Disney Plus, I really recommend getting just like at least the free trial, if only to see Soul, and probably The Mandalorian. I still have to see that. But Soul. Look forward to my last review of the year. I'm not going to be doing an end of the year review of like all the movies and ranking my top 10 just yet because Jared actually mentioned to me, I didn't realize this, but some movies that were pushed to 2021 and will be Oscar nominated movies, they still were released, but it was just a limited release. It wasn't wide released, which they will be next year. So technically they are still 2020 movies. And it gives me a lot more time to watch some of these other movies I didn't get to this year because I realize there's still a lot I need to see for my list. So I will be doing that in February. New Year's Eve, I will come out with one more just regular movie review. And I'm trying to decide what to do it on. I have a couple different ideas, but look forward to that. And as always, keep your hopes high, your stress low, and movies right in the middle. I'll see you guys later.